Are you a die-hard fan of LA Angels baseball and Anaheim Ducks hockey? Look no further than the Katella Chronicles, your one-stop shop Angels and Ducks YouTube channel. Join the main host, Dominick Lorenz, as he takes you on an exhilarating journey down Katella Avenue. So grab your jersey, grab your friends, and let's all dive into the thrilling world of LA Angels baseball and Anaheim Ducks hockey with the Katella Chronicles. Subscribe now and never miss a moment.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome on into the Katella Chronicles Podcast with your host, Dominick Lorenz. Oh boy, it has been a hot minute since we have been here on the air on YouTube, and as you're watching this right now, you probably see a different face next to me over here, and there's some big news coming as we've entered 2024. We're going to dive in all to this because it is a new era of the Katella Chronicles podcast. And with this era, we have brought in a new face. You might know him from his Halo in the Infield days. You might know him from his fast time under the Halo days. And now his current adventure with the One Jets pod. So if you're a fan of the New York Jets, you're going to want to follow that. And he is going to be our graphics department extraordinaire. And he'll be popping in the podcast every so often. So it's my pleasure to welcome in a brand new host, graphics extraordinaire, Randy Yaws, to the Katella Chronicles family. Randy, we've been talking about this for a long time now. So glad to finally have you on.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, I appreciate you, Dominick. I'm glad to be part of the Katella Chronicles. I'm looking forward to this venture. Not so much looking forward to baseball season, but hey, we'll make it fun, won't we?
Yes, we will. And man, like I said, we started prepping this new era of Katella Chronicles probably just before the end of 2023, and it was just a sentiment that while we were doing football, and if you haven't followed the One Jets pod, again, everything New York Jets football, but also we talk much more about the NFL, and Randy was gracious enough to have me on every week there, and we just built this relationship more than we had before, and we said, why the heck didn't we do this earlier? I think we joked about this, and, it was just the right time with lives getting crazy and my schedule getting busier, and Randy's the same, but we could help each other out in those ventures, and that's why we are here today. Randy, again, a part of the Katella Chronicles family. We are missing a third part of the Katella Chronicles group today. David Goodkind is still with us. He had a family emergency to attend to today. But throughout Katella Chronicles, now, I'll be honest, it's not going to be these weekly podcast shows that are done on a consistent basis. Again, life happens. I have work. Randy's got busyness going on. David's got busyness ensuing. So it's pretty much whenever we can get on and get you as much information about the Angels and the Ducks, that's what we're going to do. And today, it's Randy and I. Next time, it could be just David and I. Maybe one time it could be David and Randy. However the situation runs up, that's what we're going to bring to you, the fans. But we have been so thankful that for your patience. I know it's been at least probably since the beginning of the Ducks season in October, where we had our last podcast episode with our good friend, Zach Gray of Ducks Game Day Breakdown. So it's been a long time, but we are so glad to be ready to go. So Randy, at Katella_CHRON on Twitter and Instagram, I want to give you a big shout out because not only this podcast that we're now utilizing on StreamYard, which is a great adventure in the podcast world, some of you Katella Chronicle fans may have noticed a new logo change. And I'm going to put it on the board right now. Look at the new era of Katella Chronicles. The future is now 100%. That is all Randy. Randy, take me through this in the creative process in your brain, putting both of these logos together.
Yeah, I just thought, hey, Dom needs to step into the 21st century. Let's up the scales a little bit, and I don't know. I was toying around with it, and I came up with a couple ideas. I shot them over your way, and you said you liked them both, and like it was kind of just really up to me. It's like, all right, which one do I like the best? And that's what I came up with. And then the last second or last minute, I guess you'd say, is when we came up with the alternate duck head.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm going to incorporate that somehow, and that'll be an alternate throughout the baseball season and a good prominent during hockey season, but. I just, as a thank you to you for helping me out on the One Jets pod this past season, I felt, you know what? If anybody deserves a rebranding and a helping hand, it's my good buddy Dominick at the Katella Chronicles, brother.
Man, I appreciate it. But again, I'm going to put it up right for the third time here. Gorgeous, man. They're absolutely, the duck head is stellar, my friend. It just looks great. And especially with the logo on the left with the, the halo and the orange and red and, just everything put in together. A+ job, man. I couldn't ask for anything more. And I could not have done that in my wildest dream. You would have had to coach me so much just to do the basics at this point. And to double the fun, the background that we have today, Randy has put together as well. Very nice Angels man cave area.
Little AI help there.
Hey, AI will do it. I love AI for certain things, not everything, but this is a situation where we, as I don't want to say influencers, but podcasters in the sports sphere, we love AI because it does half the work for us and we can focus on the content rather than all the ancillary stuff at times. So as it states at the top, please like and subscribe to our Katella Chronicles YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Katella_CHRON for everything Katella Chronicles related. Again, we have Randy now joining the group. David Goodkind will be back with us at a future date. Again, you're going to get a rotation of all three of us. And of course, we still partner with our great buddies for Angels baseball at Halos in the Infield. We are still with them, so go follow Halos in the Infield, as well as our good buddy that focuses on Ducks hockey at Ducks Game Day Breakdown, which is Zach Gray. So we have covered all of our bases. We are ready to talk about the Angels. I know we haven't talked about the Ducks in a while, and the Ducks have had their ups and downs. And Randy is somewhat of a hockey fan. We're infiltrating him a little bit to the Ducks. So
still very much a hockey virgin.
And which is great because there's some people that could be watching Katella Chronicles that love the Angels, like the Ducks, but don't know the nuances. And I think we'll put Randy in that category. So having him on as well will be a nice double bonus when we talk Ducks hockey. But today, episode number 23 of the Katella Chronicles podcast, it's going to be about the Angels only because spring training is upon us. Yeah. And 2024 Angels is going to be a story regardless of how you look at it, positive or negative, because there are a lot of changes with this Angels organization. Some changes we want, some changes that haven't happened yet and that are probably not going to happen. But for those that are watching or listening, I'm just going to give you a rundown of what we're talking about here in the show. We introduced Randy. Check. That was easy. Welcome again, Randy. This is going to be a fun ride. I'm digging the retro themed jersey and hat today, by the way.
Thank you.
That's always a good look.
Yeah.
I do feel the Angels should bring some sort of retro back in some capacity.
I would, you know what? I was thinking not too long ago, I would like to see kind of this look.
Yeah.
But how, the current font.
Oh, yeah.
But laid out like this, somewhat, however they can mix the two, I think would be freaking gorgeous. And do this whole pullover with the stripes and everything.
Yeah, the ribbing. The ribbing.
Yeah, gives it that retroness to it. Oh, I think they should totally do it, man.
I know on the promo schedule they always have, retro weekend or throwback weekend, so they always do a variety of uniforms that weekend. But I honestly, out of all the retros, the one you have on to me is the sickest of the bunch. I really like that style the best.
Notch, for sure.
We're going to talk about spring training. It has begun. Pitchers and catchers reported earlier this week. Anthony Rendon showed up to camp this weekend. Holy moly. But we do have a new manager. We're going to dive in on Ron Washington a little bit. The newest additions, some of the exits from the Angels franchise. And of course, we got to talk about the one, the only, the infamous Arte Moreno in this podcast. I know we don't want to talk about it, but we got to talk about it because it is relevant to what's going on with the Angels. That's where, maybe Randy will sound off to the best of Randy's abilities when we get to Arte, because we joke about it all the time in the One Jets pod. Whenever we're talking about the Jets or the 49ers, because that's my team for those that don't know. The emotions are still raw from the Super Bowl, so leave me alone. But we always use the Angels and Arte Moreno as a comparison tool for the Jets. So it's funny how it comes full
embarrassing.
Circle. And when we get to the Arte Moreno, I'm going to give Randy the floor because you did bring up something off camera today in our mini group chat between you and I, of the comparisons between the Angels and the Jets franchises. And I wish David was here because I know David is a huge Jets fan as well. So he would probably coincide with you on what you're probably going to say a little later. So I'm looking forward to when David re-enters the podcast here when we throw in those little sprinkles of details. But let's get off. Spring training is here. Ron Washington is the new manager of the Angels. The Angels have an entire litmus of new coaches to boot, with the exception of Ray Montgomery. He's still going to be a bench role with this organization. Perry Minasian is still the general manager. Right off the top,
Montgomery's here.
Yeah, right. Right off the top of the bat, let's just go to the top of the lineup. Give me your thoughts. I know we've talked about it off air, but officially, Ron Washington is in camp. He is leading the charge for this Angels squad with all the tumultuousness and the lack of moves that have happened this offseason.
Yeah.
What do you like or dislike, or what are your feelings about Ron Washington? He is manager now of the Angels.
Oh, man, there ain't nothing to dislike about the old boy Ron Washington, man. He is a G, dude. He's an old school guy. You know, it's like the movie. He'll teach a fan to play first base if he has to.
Yep.
No, I really love Ron Washington. Even when he was with the Texas Rangers, I just always love his approach to the game. He's old school. He's very much involved, which I'm sure a lot of Angels fans have seen on social media the last couple of days, you know, through some of the spring training clips that we're getting. I mean, you see him out there teaching Anthony Rendon some new things. I mean, that's phenomenal. We're blessed, you know, forever how long we got him, you know, if this is the transition, you know, for the Angels to getting back to respectability. And if Ron Washington is the stopgap bridge, you know, stopgap to bridging us to that next level, then so be it. You know, maybe he'll get an extension. Maybe he won't, but he's getting old. But I'm happy for once that we finally have a real skipper out there. It's like I said on social media. One of my look, Pa, a real skipper.
We're at that point where
the
Angels really haven't had a real formidable manager since Mike Scioscia. Now, let's be real for a minute. Brad Ausmus, no.
And Phil Nevin come from that same era too. So
correct. Phil Nevin was not. Now, Joe Maddon. On paper, he was a manager. He got the Cubs out of their funk. He brought Tampa Bay to relevancy. He was a legitimate manager, but clearly the combination of he and Perry and a lot of different other factors, you know, you knew it probably wasn't going to start off on the right track when the first year you get Joe Maddon, 3 months later we go into an entire world pandemic. So you knew right there was something going to be the problem with this. But for the first time, you're hoping nothing goes crazy. Ron Washington's the manager, and I'm gonna go through the entire coaching staff that he brought on, because there were some names that were thrown out that didn't happen, like Torrey Hunter and Clint Hurdle. Clint Hurdle is probably somebody that, out of this entire coaching staff, I'd be upset about the most because of his just experience and that veteranship and where he's been in his baseball career, not just managing from top to bottom.
Totally agree.
And you know, it was a money thing according to reports, and we'll talk about the money.
It usually is.
Yeah, you know,
and that's fine. That's fine. He's earned his paycheck.
He's earned his paycheck. So here we go. So Ron Washington's the manager. He will wear the good old number 37, by the way. So Ron Washington, 37. Ray Montgomery will be the bench coach. Johnny Washington is our new hitting coach. You have Barry Enright, the pitching coach. Bo Porter, the former Houston Astro coach, is coming over to be the first base coach for the Angels. Eric Young Sr. We had Eric Young Jr. as a player, but we get his father to coach third base. And I'm like, you know what a good thing about Eric Young Sr. I like?
What's that?
That gray beard that he's got working, man. It is picture ass at third base. You're going to see it blowing in the wind. I'm going to love it right there. You got Steve Karasay, the bullpen coach. Ryan Goings, who's a youngster but an infield coach. What I liked from Ron Washington in his description of Ryan Goings, who primarily played his career, I think, near the end with Toronto, he sees a lot of himself in Ryan Goings. How he started off as a defensive technician and learning the ways of being a manager and a coach and different things. So who knows, Ryan Goings, maybe he's that next level a decade from, you know, maybe the next era of baseball, the ones that are getting drafted now.
I mean, that's high praise coming from, you know, a guy like him.
Oh, I think so 100% of the way. You got Tim Laker, offensive coordinator. Now, hold on a second. I thought offensive coordinator was football only.
Whoa.
Whoa. Tim Laker was with the Mariners. He is now the offensive coordinator for the Angels. So typically in higher level positions, you're going to see, in the front office, player operations and all these new technology roles with TrackMan data and StatCast. The Angels have an offensive coordinator, which is something that they've never had before. So I'm interested to see where Tim Laker fits into this entire coaching staff and scheme that the Angels have cooked up in 24. You have Jerry Narin as the catching coach, Jason Nix, an assistant coach, Tim Buss, staff assistant, Jason Brown, bullpen coach, and Mike Asherman, a batting practice pitcher. Now, I know the Angels also have a new athletic trainer. I don't see it on this. Oh, here it is right here. If I see for a moment. Manny Del Campo is the interpreter. He's been with the Angels with Jose Suarez and a couple other players. Mike Frostad is still the head athletic trainer, so he's not going anywhere. But they have a new strength and conditioning coach, which we said, and I know our buddies Todd, Fernando, and the whole crew at Halos in the infield last year said, we need somebody new. And it's going to be Dylan Centulia is the new head strength and conditioning coach. So there's your new litmus of coaches here with the Angels under the management of Ron Washington. The mainstays, Perry Minasian is still the general manager. He's going into the final year of his contract.
Yeah.
And I know this is foreshadowing a little bit into the Arte Moreno talk near the end of the show, because I don't want to start on a negative. I want to start on a positive. Just baseball is back.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard rumors from Arte Moreno that the Angels are going to be working on a limited budget this year. If you're Perry Minasian going into a new era of Angels baseball, and you have Ron Washington, this new exciting coaching staff, then you get the handcuffs put on you saying, okay, here's your little toy. We're going to take it back from you. It's on clearance. Go bargain bin hunt in your final year where you got to prove something than nothing.
Yeah.
How tough of a job is that for Perry? Because to me, I feel Perry has done well enough under the constraints of his boss being Arte Moreno in his, 4+ years now with the Angels? I don't know where, I have deeper thoughts, but I'll give you the floor first. What do you think about Perry?
I mean, it's no secret where I kind of stand with Perry right now. I mean, in my opinion, to be real honest with you, Dom, I mean, the team's...
Go for it.
To me, the team's no different than it was when he took over. Now, I understand who his boss is, but I feel like we could have made some better moves last year going into the season. Made some... Hindsight's 2020, but could have made some better moves at the trade deadline. But to answer your question, it's got to be not only tough, as in the sense that it makes your job tougher, where you no longer have a set guys that you're going to go after. Now you have to literally do a whole bunch of research on a bunch of different dudes that try to fit your scheme and the way you're going to do things. Ron Washington kind of guys. And that's a whole lot of guys to cover. And that's why the Angels are constantly, going into the spring training. That's why you're constantly still seeing, the Angels signed this guy, this guy. Where everybody else they got their fucking squad. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize about that word. I'm sorry. I know this is a little more family friendly. But
this is a passion. But this is passion. I will disclaim that. We are a passionate show here at Katella Chronicles. And when we're with our buddies at Halos in the Infield, and Randy and I are definitely passionate when we talk football. Yeah. So, again, most of this show, except for the one-off chances where things are really going downhill, we are going to get passionate about it because we care about this organization, unlike our owner, Arte Moreno, at this point, who says this, and again, I'm foreshadowing here. The city of Anaheim doesn't care about winning. We're working on a limited budget. I'm here because it's a dictatorship. No, we're going to call that out, and we will in about probably 30 minutes from now. But, so yes, disclaimer on bad language and stuff, but this is all pure passion here, folks. Let's be real. This is pure passion. We're not here to degrade players of their human core, except Arte Moreno. This is purely about the Angels, and we want our team to succeed and win. So if you listening to this have a problem with that, go find yourself another podcast. There's others out there, go find some others, but this is what we're about here. And to your point, in my opinion, I think Perry has done an above average job, not phenomenal, but an above average job of working within the constraints of Arte Moreno. And in my opinion, last year when the Angels went all in the sense at the trade deadline, and they scuffled into the All-Star break. They came out of the All-Star break red hot, and then they went to Toronto and then Atlanta, and then the wheels started falling off. I can't blame Arte Moreno for the moves he made at the trade deadline because it showed we were finally all in for the first time in a long time. Did those moves pan out? No. But truly, I'm always under the assumption and the direction. The GM makes the moves. The players have to perform. And based on the numbers that you saw for all the players that we got, with the exception of Mike Moustakas, who played phenomenally, and it sucks that he's in Chicago now with the White Sox. I think that's a misstep on the Angels, because if you're bargain hunting, that's a bargain hunt I'm willing to take. And Matt,
leader too.
Yeah. So with the exclusion of Mike Moustakas, everything else was a bust. CJ Cron, bust. Grichuk, bust, even though he stayed healthy. All the pitchers that we got ended up being dealt in September at the waiver wire. Giolito was a huge bust that we gave a lot up for, except for Ronaldo Lopez, who we did get from the White Sox as a reliever. He was worth it, but we had to give him up for financial reasons. So I don't blame Perry for those moves not working, because everything on paper with all of those guys from the 2023 campaign said it would work. And the Angels needed something to click because Mike Trout was down and out. Anthony Rendon was down and out. And somehow, some way, up until the deadline, the Angels were finding ways to win ball games. So I get it. We're frustrated, and Perry's got to be better in this is. But it's like, when you look what's on paper, like Joe Madden, on paper, he should bring us out of the slump. He didn't. Joe Adell, on paper at AAA, should be a pro. He's not. There's all these things. The Angels are one of the best teams in baseball on paper every year. Right? I feel that's true. And it's being constructed in that way. But when the chips lay down and they don't execute on the field, that's the problem. And I think having Ron Washington here, if Ron Washington was an Angel manager last year and the Angels went all in and did exactly what they did, honestly, I think the Angels' season last year would have winded up differently. I'm not saying they were going to win the World Series. I'll put that disclaimer out there. But I think certain situations and where the trajectory of this team would have been a hell of a lot different if Ron Washington was the manager last year with this squad than coming in this year. Agree or disagree? I don't know.
I agree. What was our record last year?
The Angels in 2020, what are we in 4 now? So that'd be 2023 last year. Had our
76 wins, I think.
76 Angels. Yeah, let's see what we got. Oh boy. 73 and 89.
Yeah, you can't tell me Ron Washington couldn't get us to like at least 83 to 85 wins.
Yeah. 10. The Angels early on in April, when we thought, this team is okay, there was about 4 or 5 games in the first 3 weeks of the season where we're like, you blew the bullpen there, you did this there. Okay, sprinkle those in later.
Todd could pick each one of those games out too.
Yeah, I can remember those clearly, and it's one of those situations where it's like, Ron Washington would have managed this better. He would have changed things. And if you just flip 5 to 8 games early on in the season, put you in a different scenario at the trade deadline time in regards to the wild card, because the division was pretty much Texas and Houston.
Oh, absolutely.
And Houston won the division. They didn't outright win it. It was competitive. But the Angels, instead of at the trade deadline being 5 games or so back, having a fight, they still were in it. What if they were only 1 game out or in a wild card spot? Yeah. Don't tell me maybe they would have went for a bigger fish at the deadline than what they did. Again, there's so many nuances, and you and I talk about football all the time. One penalty doesn't change the games all the time, but it changes the complexion of a certain possession or a drive or this. In baseball, these little minuscule moves change the complexion of a game. And that's where I get it. And that's where I think Ron Washington is going to be such an asset to this organization if Arte Moreno doesn't get it up.
I think Ron Washington could have got Hunter Renfroe back to form last year. Because Hunter Renfroe showed up and just freaking disappeared.
April, he was great. He was one of our best, top 5 hitters in April. And then the steep decline that happened was sharp and amazing. Awful. His defense was always good. We never complained about his defense. It was the offense that just said, holy, yikes.
And real quick, before we move on any further, I do want to touch real quick on the moves that Perry made last year.
Yes.
If Perry, and this is just my opinion, this is not a Dominick's opinion, this is not David's opinion, this is nobody else's opinion but mine.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Perry was worth his weight in gold, I think he would have looked at what was available and what we could possibly even get, considering where we were.
Yeah.
I would have just been like, you know what, let's just sit on what we have, see what we can do, because honestly, the guys that we shipped out were guys that other teams were looking at like, well, that's all you got. Like, I mean, unless you give me so-and-so, I mean, who else are you going to give us? So, yeah, we'll make a trade with you. But guess what, Los Angeles? You're going to give us that? Well, we're trying to shed some payroll, so this is all you get. You don't get this guy. This is all you get. Okay. I mean, it's better than what we got right now. That's the way I saw the trade deadline, bro.
I agree. And, the biggest fish that we got was, of course, Lucas Giolito. We broke that live on a podcast with David, Fernando, and I. We were talking about the trade deadline, and the news broke in that instant. That was a wild night back in late July. Again, I'm still on the side of the equation where you get these guys and the expectation happens on the field. What they say on paper should translate, and that's what you're trading for. I know whenever trades happen in sports, you're like, oh, we won't know until 3, 4, 5 years from now if it was worth it when we look back in hindsight 2020. We can do that now, and clearly it didn't work, but in that moment, the Angels needed a spark. That was the right move at the right time, according to Perry Minasian in the front office. So I will never blame Perry Minasian for trying. He put all the chips on the table. I'll give him credit. But the execution still goes on the players at the end of the day. 100%. Because Perry can't bat for Anthony Rendon. Perry Minasian cannot pitch for Tyler Anderson when he wasn't doing well last year, or Jose Suarez when he couldn't throw a strike inside of a 50-foot zone. So those are the inconsistencies where this Angel franchise lies.
I feel bad for the guy. Like, his free agent acquisition.
Yeah.
Like, on paper, you're like, oh, shoot. Like, a lot of teams are like, yeah, okay. But then when they get here, it's like, of course. It's like I feel like it's the Angel effect, man. I don't understand. That's why I feel like Ron Washington could be the guy to break that effect. But it seems like every time we bring someone even respectable in here, after having a decent scene, it's regress city, dude. It's like,
so I wouldn't be surprised.
Freaking happen with us, man.
And that's where I'm not going to be surprised if Renfroe has a good year with the Kansas City Royals. Won't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked.
Even in a pitcher's ballpark.
Even in a pitcher's ballpark. You could look at other players like Max Stassi has a good year in Chicago. Now, I know Stassi was out all of last year due to family things that were going on with his wife and newborn baby, and that's a different scenario. But watch him. He regressed in 2022 after a phenomenal 21 campaign. So watch him find resurgence in Chicago. There's all
Giolito have a Cy Young year.
Yeah. Giolito, it's one of those things where he might look well, and I believe he's with the Boston Red Sox now. I believe that's where he went. So watch him pitch well at Fenway. So, it's one of those things where regression is always something that when players leave here, it's always the topic of conversation. And speaking of players that are moving on, let's get to what the Angels did as they prep for 2024. We have additions and we have the exit team. Let's start with the exit team because they are in different spring training facilities other than Tempe Diablo Stadium. The three biggest ones of the bunch. Three biggest ones. Max Stassi, as we mentioned, he's going with the Chicago White Sox. He was in a trade that sent David Fletcher to the Atlanta Braves, who will be, he's a roster invitee. He doesn't have a locked spot on the team. He might be at their AAA. He kind of probably will have a similar bench role with the Braves. But hey, Atlanta's a well-run organization right now, so he could see some time and learn a lot from that team that has Matt Olson at first, Ozzie Albies in the infield, Ronald Acuna Jr. They have a stacked roster out there in Atlanta. And of course,
I'm not gonna lie, Dom. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad Fletcher's gone.
Hey,
Never
I know,
Fletcher, bro.
the inconsistencies, what we saw for him right before he got that big 5-year deal. We thought we found our table setter at the top of the order. He got the deal. He showed signs of it, got a little hurt, got back to form. But it, again, like Hunter Renfroe, it was good. And then it steeply declined very fast. I think it was one of those things where he brought something to the league. And once the league figured it out, he couldn't recover.
That's
and we
fair.
we see that happen all the time in a multitude of sports. So Fletcher's now in the Atlanta organization. And of course, the big ticket item that happened this whole offseason, Shohei Ohtani, free agent. He signs he signs that mega $700 million deal with 680 of it deferred to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So those are the exits. What do the Angels do with free agent class that has players like Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, Jorge Soler, JD Martinez, and the whole group? The Angels go out and get Adam Simber for the bullpen, Luis Garcia for the bullpen. Matt Moore returns, which I think Matt Moore is a great piece to the puzzle. He pitched very well for the bullpen with the Angels last year, so I'm really glad they got him back on a low-ball deal. On a minor league deal, Zach Plesac, who hit the scene running with the Cleveland Indians/Guardians when he was there, had some injury troubles. He's looking to find resurgence here with the Angels. You got Robert Stevenson, who was a big piece of the Tampa Bay bullpen. He signs a 3-year deal to be that back end, probably setup or closer with Carlos Estevez. We'll see how that goes. And then the Angels make a move and get Aaron Hicks, who was dog water with the Yankees, but found resurgence with the Baltimore Orioles. So there's your additions. There's your exits. Let's talk about the additions. They beefed up the bullpen, and let's focus on the bullpen first. I know everybody wants to talk offense, but I want to talk about the bullpen. The bullpen has right now is anchored by Carlos Estevez at the back end of the bullpen. And you get guys like Simber, Garcia, Moore, and Stevenson to the mix. So how does this bullpen look differently from the end of last season, or at least the high points of last season to you?
I mean, to be real honest with you, dude, I don't even know half of these guys you just mentioned. That's just me being real honest.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like we said. I mean, this is just one of those scrap heap off seasons. Now, I'm not saying these guys are scrap heap garbage kind of guys. And I'm being 100% with your audience. I haven't heard of most of these guys outside of our own guy Estevez, which I'm still in the air. The way he went out last year after that All-Star appearance, it was like, you got to be better than that, bro. Yeah. And I understand, just the way the whole team was performing down the stretch. It was just a team effort the way we were just performing, but I'm hoping he can bounce back. I just like the fact that we got new guys in there, some fresh arms, something new, instead of just like the same old. And guys like Ron Washington and the staff he's put together, I fully 100% trust to coach these guys up to their strengths and not make bonehead decisions.
And there's going to be some returners coming into that bullpen as well that went out injury last year. So young guys like Sam Bachman, Ben Joyce, they're going to have the ability to come back. You also have Jose Soriano, who did very well. From the very beginning, he had some ebbs and flows near the end of the season. But again, the taxing arm, he hadn't had any MLB experience. So for him to come in and have that year under his belt, those are 3 big pieces to this bullpen puzzle, I really feel, especially Bachman, who's that long middle relief guy, and Joyce that can throw 104 on the drop of a dime.
Where do you see Joyce in this rotation? Where do you see him fitting in?
I think Joyce No, not yet. I think at the end of the day, I would say maybe 2 to 3 years from now, you could see Joyce being the closer.
Absolutely.
But I think he's still young. He got a very limited amount of games in 2023 before the injury.
Yes.
So I think that this year, especially with the new coaching staff, the new pitching coach and Barry Enright, I think this is going to be a learning year for Ben Joyce, finding that right spot. I could see him. I want him in low pressure situations. You have Estevez, who right now, again, no spring training games have been played. Everybody's working through the kinks. I think the closer job for the Angels is going to either be Estevez or the new gentleman from Tampa Bay in Stevenson. Those are your two closers right out the gate. Whoever doesn't get the closer role gets the setup role. Bachman's going to be that long middle relief. I like Matt Moore in that potential 7th or 8th inning type situation because that's where he really pitched last season.
Yep.
So I could see Bachman, Joyce, Soriano playing that 5th, 6th inning, rotational out of the bullpen. You also have guys who started and relieved last year that could be a factor, like Kenny Rosenberg, who's a nice lefty out of the pen. You have Chase Silseth, could be a starter. Could they put him into the bullpen? I like him as a starter. Jose Suarez is back healthy. I'd rather see him as a lefty out of the bullpen than a starter. If Suarez is a guy that's glued to this roster, I would rather see him out of the bullpen than starting. If the knife is to my neck, I'd rather have him there. I'll be real. And then you still have guys like Andrew Wance that are still here. So you have familiar names to this bullpen. But again, you have a specialist in Adam Simber who's kind of that sidearm guy. So he could be factored. Luis Garcia was with San Diego. He played primarily 6-7 inning role. So there are a lot of similar situational guys that the Angels picked up. So I think it's really plays into the hands of Ron Washington very well, where he'll figure out how to utilize these guys in the right situations. And if you have 5 bullpen guys that are utilized in the same spot, that's great for Ron Washington because he can utilize them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rotate. He'll have that natural common sense mentality, not philosophy that Phil Nevin had, common sense that Ron Washington has.
Yeah.
Get the job done.
Where you can't pitch for a week after pitching three batters.
Days. Yeah, 3 batters, you need a week off. So I'm interested to see this bullpen, but right now, if I had to give you a clear vision of this bullpen, I'm going to say Matt Moore in the 7th, Stevenson in the 8th, Estevez in the 9th, because Estevez does have that closing experiences with this Angel Ball Club. But I have no problem flipping Estevez and Stevenson. No problem there. After that, I think you get a mixed bag of a lot of opportunities. And I know there's a lot of guys that could be at AAA, like a Jimmy Herget, who had a great 2022, but he kind of fell off the curve halfway through 2023. It depends where you want to go. Do you want to play with the power or do you want to play with the effectiveness? And I think that's where Ron Washington and Barry Enright are going to look at the pitchers that they have and say, who are the power guys, who are the effective guys, and who are the guys that are just the dogs that no matter what situation, if it's a 5-run lead in the 5th inning that can come in and do business, or we're in a bases loaded 1-out tie game situation that's going to be a dog and give the eye of the tiger and get out of the frame. So really, long answer short, situationally is how the Angels need to be. And in years past, they've been inconsistent. Ron Washington hopefully is that factor that brings consistency to this bullpen side of things. This is the bullpen we're talking about.
Right.
The Angels have not gone out and gotten a starting pitcher this year. So the rotation is Detmers, Sandoval, Anderson, Canning, and Silseth. Which, on paper, when Detmers is on, he's thrown a no-hitter. He's gone a complete game. We saw Sandoval at his pinnacle at the World Baseball Classic last year. We saw Griffin Canning come back early and have some dominant moments. Chase Silseth, he spun the ball well when he went back down to AAA, fixed a couple secondary pitches, and he came back out. And last year, for the latter 2 months of the season, he was the best starter coming out of the Angels rotation. Then you have Tyler Anderson, who was great with the Dodgers, and then throws up he threw innings, but were they quality innings? So where does these Angels rotation land right now without a formidable ace? Because guess what? Shohei's down the 5 freeway with the Dodgers now. He is not leading the staff. Where do the Angels go?
I mean, a rotation without an ace, dude. That's where we're at.
Out of the 5 guys I mentioned, Sandoval, Detmers, Canning, Silseth, Anderson, even though none of them are true aces, who is the ace of this staff to you?
Based on last year?
Sure.
Griffin Canning.
Canning. Okay.
Yeah, he's probably the one pitcher I have the most trust on this roster right now. I've fallen way off of Sandoval. I had so much high praise for Sandoval going into 2023. I've completely I don't say I've fallen off, brother. I've jumped off that bandwagon.
Well, here's the fun thing about it, and we heard Angels, I believe it was Reed Detmers in an interview this season, talk about this. And the interviewer asked him about how Shohei Ohtani affected the Angels rotation with the 6-man rotation. And again, the Angels, Ohtani was telling you when to start games and when he felt comfortable, which is fine. A two-way player hasn't happened in this game in a very long time since the Babe Ruth era.
Yep.
So I get why Ohtani called his shots. Okay, this is something we hadn't seen in our lifetime. But how does that trickle down effect to the rest? Detmer's like, I'm ready for Friday night. No, you're not. You're going to pitch Sunday now because Ohtani's going to throw you off. We don't want to throw the Saturday guy off, so we're going to throw you off 2 days.
God, how many times did they do that last year? Jeez.
And we get it. We wanted to see Shohei. Shohei was an ace, so it made sense to throw him out there when he was ready. But the trickle-down effect, I'm interested to see this year in 2024, regardless of the wins and the losses for the Angels, how not having Shohei Ohtani on this roster for the pitching side of things positively or negatively affects the starters that are here, the Sandovals, the Detmers, that, when Ohtani was your ace, he was the 1 guy. Detmers 2, Sandoval 3, and then you have to look at the 5 or 6 guy on the back end, which was Silseth. Ohtani sandwiched them. So when he was ready to go, it would throw off the 6 guy and the 2 guy. When he bumped, it then affected the 3 guy. So I'm interested to see how those nuances change. And we talked about it a little earlier, and I brought it up. It's the small little nuances that don't change the outcome sometimes, but changes the complexion of a situation. And this is the complexion I'm looking at. Go for it.
I'm wondering if doing that, with the way Ohtani was doing things, and the way we were allowing him to do things, I'm wondering if having to do that to guys, if there was a lot of fatigue setting in with these guys, because they would warm up, get ready, to go, and then all of a sudden they'd be like, no, Shohei's going. Oh, okay, and then then they got to warm up again, a couple days later, and it's like,
to me, I don't think it's the physical fatigue aspect. I think it's the mental fatigue, because you're looking at a calendar and you're seeing, okay, this week the Angels play Monday through Wednesday. We have an off day Thursday. And then we go into 10 consecutive games on the road. Let's just say home for 3, day off, on the road for 10. And a pitcher's looking like Detmers or Sandoval. Okay, I'm pitching Tuesday, Sunday. We have a day off, so that'll bump me already. And that's without Ohtani making a decision. That's just a regularly scheduled off.
And you base your regimen off that.
So when you do your regimen, your bullpen sessions, and when you typically do your bullpen sessions 2 days after a start or before a start, depending on the rotation number, you're saying, okay, I'm ready to go. Then you put your body in a situation the day before your start, but then that day before your start, let's say Ohtani has a pinky issue or that blister issue. Oh, hey, Sandoval, we need you to bump up and start tomorrow. Yeah. Whoa, I'm not ready yet.
Right.
And again, these are athletes and these are professionals and they got to go on call, but don't tell me that doesn't get into a mental psyche situation.
Sure. I mean, yeah, like every once in a while you might have to go on call and that just happens, But when it's a constant thing,
constant. That's where I'm getting at.
You're
right
making
there.
valid points, brother. You're making valid points.
So that's where the bullpen and the pitching staff lie right now. And we'll quickly, before we get into Arte Moreno talk, let's get into the offensive side of things.
Sure.
Rendon's in camp. Holy moly. Hallelujah. Yep. He was actually working with Ron Washington and not fighting about it. Holy moly. He did an interview this offseason. Holy moly.
He did an interview.
He did an interview.
Well, I'll be damned.
Right now, where the Angels stand offensively, left field looks like Taylor Ward territory. And I'm glad he's back. He looks great after taking that 94-mile-an-hour Alek Manoah ball to the kisser, screwed up his sinus cavity, his nose. Seeing him back on the field, and it looks like nothing happened. A+ for the doctor that fixed that.
Right.
If anything happens to either of us in life, can we get that doctor's number like right away?
It might have been the same doctor working on A-Rod's Achilles.
Yeah. Taylor Ward in left field. Mike Trout's back. Mike Trout is the Angels center fielder. And I'm going to be biased here. Any talk about Mike Trout moving positions or anything else, get Mike Trout's name out your effing mouth.
I feel attacked right now.
I know. And I know you talked about it. And we've talked about it privately. And I understand the reasoning. And now with the open DH spot, Mike Trout is not on crutches. Has he had some health problems because of the calf, the hamite bone? It's some freak crap that's happening to Mike Trout lately, okay?
But they're baseball injuries.
But they are baseball injuries.
You can overcome baseball injuries. These aren't catastrophic. These aren't, weird, crazy injuries. These are baseball injuries. These are overcome.
You can overcome that, just like Aaron Rodgers is with his Achilles right now.
Like Mike Trout.
Yeah. So, Mike Trout's the starting center fielder.
Yes, sir.
He's not going to left field. He's not, can you now utilize him at the DH spot maybe at least once a week now? Great, sure. Take some pressure off the knees and as he gets older.
Yeah, resting.
That's fine. I would rather see him DHing than get a off day once a week.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Oh, Mike Trout, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's a day game. You let's say Monday through Wednesday, he's batting 500. He's having a hot series against Seattle. Oh, well, because Ohtani's DHing and we have, 10 games in 13 days, we need you to sit this day game before we get on a flight.
Philosophy.
No, ride your hot hand. He can rest on the plane.
Yep.
You can rest on the plane. Deal with it. So.
You sound like Ron Washington.
In right field at the moment, you have a platoon of Mickey Moniak and Joe Adell. Yep. Which Moniak had a very good 2023 campaign, had some injuries near the end, but we saw a glimmer of what Moniak can bring to this table. The strikeouts need to lessen. That's the biggest thing with his game right now. Joe Adell? Well, this is it for him. Let's be real. We've talked about it in theory. This is it. He has no more options.
If Ron Washington can't get anything out of him, Dominic, that's the end of the road.
This is it. Everything we've heard from trainers, from minor leaguers, this guy is legit. And when he plays in the minors, he is glorified, no doubt. But when he comes here, there is a disconnect. Now, here's the paperwork side of things. He has no more options. Yep. So he either breaks camp and makes the big league roster, adios, put on waivers. It's one of those situations. Now, are the Angels probably going to break camp with him and he's going to be on the roster? Of course. I don't foresee, unless the Angels went out and got a JD Martinez, a Cody Bellinger, some sort of a bona fide outfielder, Adam Duvall, who there's been rumors about, in situations like that, Adell's going to break camp. I'm sorry. We're just going to be real. He's probably going to hit a couple dingers in spring training. He's going to do what he normally does.
I think he'll do just enough to show, okay, he's a decent backup.
Yeah. But to me, Ward, Trout, Moniak is my opening day outfield with Adell. Absolutely. But again, it's how I am interested to see how Ron Washington's going to play the righty-lefty matchups. I'm interested to see because that is a new thing with, again, Statcast era data, all the metrics, so on and so forth. Infield, when healthy, you're going to have Rendon at third, Zach Neto at short, Brandon Drury or Renfroe at second.
Mm-hmm.
And they already committed, Ron Washington said, Nolan Shonowell, the rookie, because he's still under rookie based on service time, who's going to come into the regular season on a 29-game on-base streak, by the way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he's going to be the top of the order guy, leading things off on opening day when the Angels are in Baltimore.
And he got some high praises from the skip, too.
Nolan, and I love it because I said this last year when Phil Nevin and the hitting staff was saying he needs to, homer. Let him be a contact batter. That's what your leadoff guy is supposed to be.
Exactly.
Set the table for Drury, for Trout, for Rendon when healthy.
This kick and hit.
Even for a guy I'm going to bring up now who's our starting catcher, Logan O'Hoppe.
Yes, sir.
People on the docket here. So you have Shonowell at first, O'Hoppe behind the plate. Matt Theis will be your backup catcher, which Theis was an interesting case. He had good moments and had horrible moments. But we finally saw his bat start to come around for the first time in his career. So I'm okay with the backup spot, and I know we re-signed Chad Wallach, so he'll probably be at AAA, swing guy, veteran mentality. What do you like about this Angel offense right now? Because Drury had a phenomenal year. I could see, Rengifo playing second. Drury's your DH one game. Then another game based on the matchup. Rengifo gets the day off. Trout's the DH. Drury at second. But hell, we've seen Rengifo play the outfield, so you could have Moniak in center and Rengifo in right. I don't condone that behavior, but it could happen. Where are the Angels offensively right now? Because I do not think on paper we are the worst team to be put on the field offensively.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
No, I'm just like, I'm trying to think of teams like we're not Oakland. Like Taylor Ward has had good moments. Mike Trout is Mike Trout.
Yep.
Rendon, when he's Tony Two Bags and driving people in, he is a quality contact hitter. And again, I say when he's in the lineup.
We haven't seen that yet.
Rengifo had sparks. Moniak had sparks. Can Adele have some sparks? Neto, defensively spark, offense, got to pick it up. O'Hoppe, home run, he's got the ability. Again, on paper, this team has promise. But what do we see on the field in execution?
I mean, this is where it all comes down to coaching, man. And like I said, I think we got the guy, because this is when you really look at these guys. I mean, this is a fiery bunch. I mean, with your Netos, your O'Hoppes, Moniacs.
Yeah.
and then when he feels like it, Rendon. But it's a young squad, and I think there's a lot of potential there. Some of these guys have potential to be superstars. They could turn into superstars, starting this year. I mean, we could see some guys really break out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a guy like Neto and Hoppe just all of a sudden just blow up and show up on the scene this year, man. Yep. And possibly, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to see guys like that constantly winning Silver Slugger awards, Gold Glove award. I mean, these guys are going to be phenomenal players. And however, anything they can learn from Wash, man, I can't wait, dude, because these is a phenomenal. This has a chance to be a phenomenal core for the Angels, and they're going to be around for a while. And again, we gotta hope they pan out.
This could be a year where you have to set that core in place, regain the confidence with Ron Washington, and then maybe next season you look at adding that free agency and situation. Because again, the outfield could open up a spot if Joe Adele doesn't pan out. Mm-hmm. You might need to be in need of an outfielder with Moniak being your backup. Or, we thought trades were going to happen. That's probably not the case right now. Anthony Rendon is coming off a contract in a couple of years. Still got 3 more, including this year. So you're going to have to find the next heir apparent at third base at some point. And O'Hoppe just has that dog mentality that we talked about earlier in the show. So offensively,
and we forget how good Taylor Ward is when he's on the top of his game, man.
When Taylor Ward, he has that glimmer of contact and power and drive in. It's where you want to put him in the order. Do you want to put him at the top? He's not going to be the number 1 guy because Shonowell is going to take that over, which is perfectly fine. But we saw Taylor Ward at times be a phenomenal leadoff guy. He looked and had a great eye for the ball. I will give him props for that.
I wouldn't hate him in the 2-hole.
And this is where the Angels, because I can see a lot of situations here where I think if you have a day where Trout's in center, and for this conversation, Moniak's, this is my lineup, and we'll put a batting order like this. Ward in left, Trout in center, Moniak right, Rendon at third, Neto short, you have Rengifo at second, Shawnuel at first, and Lohapi behind the plate with your DH, Brandon Drury. Okay, that's today's lineup, okay, as I'm Ron Washington penciling it in. How I would line that up, I can tell you for confident purposes. Shawnuel's the leadoff guy, and I would put probably Rengifo in the 9 slot.
I like it.
Okay. Now, it's interesting because I could put Moniak in the 9 spot because he is like a leadoff hitter, and you want to flip that order around. But I like Rengifo a little bit more in that 9 hole. And I know we saw him at leadoff last year, but again, 9 hole is kind of like the leadoff to swing back the top second, third time through the order. In between all of that, Ohapi is not your prototypical catcher that's going to bat 8th, folks. He is going to bat higher up in this lineup. So I feel, in my opinion, you have Shawnuel leading off. I like Taylor Ward in the 2 hole, Trout in the 3 hole, Drury in the cleanup spot.
Okay.
Rendon 5, Ohapi 6, and that would leave us with Neto 7 and Moniak 8 with Rengifo in the 9 slot.
I like Rengifo in the 9 spot because I'm looking up his on base percentage from last year, and he had a .783. So having a guy like that at the bottom of your lineup that can get on base for a guy like Shawnuel, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I love it.
I think when you balance things out, and again, sometimes you want a lefty protecting a righty in the order and so on and so forth. So maybe, Rengifo bats 5th one day to protect Drury and space out the righty Rendon with the righty Ohapi.
And then put Moniak down there in the 9.
Moniak in the 9. Again, that's the gamesmanship that Ron Washington's going to bring to the table. We'll say that. But in other situations, you're going to have to look at the bench too. If Adele could be a bench piece, Michael Stefanik could be a bench piece in this situation to lengthen the infield a little bit. And Stefanik reminds me a lot of Shawnuel, where they can slap the ball and put it in play. So there's going to be options with the squad. Matt Theis is going to be the backup catcher. So those 3 bench guys right there. And I'm pretty sure there's always a 4th bench piece, out there for the Angels or for any team. So that's where I can see these offense going at the end of the day. So again, we talk about it all the time. On paper, you can make a case where the Angels can be good. I'm not saying great. I'm saying good. This team on paper, with Ron Washington, should win 85 games at minimum. They should be.
Oh yeah.
They should be 85 and 77. That's 12 games better than that would be 12 games better than last year. I think Ron Washington could get us a +12.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing I'm excited about Ron Washington is something we haven't had since the Mike Scioscia days. And that's a consistent set lineup.
Yes.
I mean, I remember back in the Scioscia days, you could recite the lineup for the next 3 or 4 days and get it spot on. So I'm looking forward to a more consistent lineup rather than this freaking experimental bull crap that these other guys have been doing over the years. Like, come on, you're constantly moving guys from here to here, there to there. I mean, can we just let guys stick where they are and get comfortable in a role, please?
Yeah. And there's a name I left off of the bunch when I'm talking about bench pieces and Stefanik, Theis, and Adele. Aaron Hicks. We talked about him as a new addition. It was kind of a strange move as your outfield pickup. He could be playing right field while Moniak and Adele ride the bench one day. There's going to be something said for Hicks in the outfield. If he bats if his defense stays where it has been, he's always been a strong defender. If his bat performs like he did in Baltimore, where he was batting, I think, 260, 270, in comparison with the Yankees, where he was, barely hitting the Mendoza line at 200. He could make a case to be in an outfield situation, and maybe then in that situation, we drafted, and this is maybe I'm going off in a far theory here, but this I'll make it concise here. Remember, we drafted Taylor Ward as a catcher.
Yeah.
Then we tried making him a third baseman. Then we sent him to the outfield. I think it may be too late in his career to reroute him back to the infield, but if push comes to shove one day, let's say 4 outfielders are riding hot for the Angels: Ward, Hicks, Moniak, Trout, and you got to get him in the lineup. Someone needs to sacrifice something. That's where I think Ron Washington could be like, hey, Rendon, there was rumors that he might play a little bit of first base or learn the position a little bit. Move Rendon to first. If Shawnuel needs a day off, someone at third. And that's where I thought Moustakas would come in. But, of course, Arte Moreno went.
I bet you that's what old Wash was out there in that clip teaching old Rendon some first base fundamentals. I think there's a conversation to be had with a lot of things because Ron Washington brings so much to the table. So much.
It can work in that way. With spring training on, we got to get to this story as we wrap up episode 23 of Katella Chronicles Podcast, the first of the new era of the Katella Chronicles. Again, you see the new logo on the top right with the duck head. I'm going to show them to you right now, courtesy of our new addition, Randy Yaws into the bunch, our graphic design extraordinaire. He'll be popping into the podcast. Some days you'll see me and David only. Some days just me and Randy. Some days all three of us. Again, I will put the disclaimer out there. This is not going to be a consistent podcast where we have one dropping every Tuesday or every Wednesday. Life happens. Scheduling happens. We're going to do the best that we can to do as much as we can. But when we do have podcasts, we want quality content. So some days it could be 45 minutes. Some days it could be a little over an hour. It's because of what the Angels or Ducks at that situation can be giving us to talk about. So today, all about the Angels. The next time, again, we're going to throw in and sprinkle in some Ducks action as well, because I know Randy, he's a hockey fan, but he's in like with hockey. He's not in love with hockey, but he has agreed to partake in the hockey conversations. Again, we love having somebody, because then we have that teaching experience as well. And that's something for me I like to throw in as well. But if you just tune into the show, which wouldn't make sense because we're over an hour in, hit the rewind button and listen to all the stuff we've talked about before. But look at these phenomenal logos. Look at this from Mr. Randy. The new Katella Chronicles logo that you see on our social media channels on Twitter and Instagram at Katella_CHRON, as well as our YouTube handle, which is where you can find all of our podcast episodes. The future is now. The new era of Katella Chronicles. Phenomenal work right there by Randy. Round of applause to you, my friend. So glad to have you aboard.
And you deserve it all, brother.
I appreciate it. I hate to go from this to the next topic, but we're going to end the show with a little Arte Moreno talk.
Oh, yay.
And I'm just going to throw out 3 quotes that he had in his, interview with the SoCal News Group. He said, "I'm here long term. We're going to operate on a slightly lower budget." And he pretty much called the city of Anaheim for not having the appetite to win, which is why there is no stadium upgrades or negotiations to better the Angels facility. While, in perspective, across the 57 freeway, the Anaheim Ducks at Honda Center, with their brilliant, phenomenal ownership in Henry and Susan Samueli, are building what is called the OC Vibe. Look it up online, the OC Vibe. What the Ducks and Angels, and I'm going to say more so on the Ducks, are trying to do is to create that family-friendly environment, kind of like an LA Live, what you see in the Midwest. If you've ever been to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, they have that downtown appeal that just welcomes everybody whenever there's hockey for the St. Louis Blues or the St. Louis Cardinals. Just that downtown feel, shops, areas to really engage with the fans for hockey and baseball. The Ducks
ownership is doing so much for the city of Anaheim, dude.
They are living up to their side of the bargain.
Absolutely,
and they don't give a damn what Arte Moreno's doing. They're saying, we're continuing this project and we're going to look good. So cheers. I don't know if they're going to watch this episode.
Don't want to care. We care. That's what
yeah,
they're saying.
I don't care if they're going to watch this episode or not. But
Artie's always got a damn excuse, brother. He's always got an excuse for some bull crap.
Henry and Susan Samueli, Ducks owners, I take my cap off to you. You guys run I want you to take over the Angels with an ownership group. Gosh, that would be amazing. But I know, they do a lot for the Orange County, not just for sports,
Absolutely.
but for the arts. They do a lot of things with Seagrastroms and a lot of other performing arts places. So enough on, love you, Henry and Susan Samueli. we praise you. But to this dummy, Arte Moreno, he sells the team. He retracts the sale. He now puts on that dictatorship crown of I'm here long-term, suck on it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Lay it out on the line, buddy. Go.
And then lowers the payroll. I mean, it's the big. I'll be real with you, dude. I really feel like Artie's in a phase of, and pardon my language, a phase of fuck you to the fans. I think he's seen all we've had to say over the last couple of years. This, and then he goes on and says what he said about Shohei, and basically lumps our vision of what we wanted in with his vision. It's like, no. See, that's where you're disconnected, is my friend. You do not have a damn clue what we want, and it's obvious. Everything that every move that's been made, every decision that's been made has been based on what the fuck you want. Pardon me again, and I'm just getting sick of this guy. And I'm sorry. And I hate to say it, but some days I just wake up wishing I'd see the news that Arte Moreno has passed on. I'm sorry, but I'm just getting sick of being made fun of for being an Angels fan. When I tell you what, when I was a young guy in my 20s and Mike Sosa was running the ship, you couldn't say a damn thing about the Angels because we ruled the roost. We were the darlings of the MLB. We were the Yankee killers. We were always in the playoffs. We were winning divisions. And then all of a sudden, money became a freaking obstacle when the son of a bitch had plenty of it. Like, I'm sorry, man. I'm just so sick of Arte Moreno and his stupid ways. Stupid ways.
It's a tough pill to swallow. We had somewhat of jubilation when he announced the sale, and we saw some people taking meetings, and we're like, okay, maybe it won't happen in 2023, but maybe in the offseason leading into 2024, it happens, the transition. And we thought at that time, 2024 would be the transitional year of a new
owner. At least it was happening.
and just like the Titanic, it cracked in half and fell to the bottom of the ocean. And we're having to deal with the remnants of that. And, the Angels, I feel, and their fan base, with the limited fan base, because there are fair weather fans. You know as well as I do, with Ohtani gone, that fan base just decreased because the fan base that loved Ohtani is following him to the Dodgers. And you can love any player. Like, I love players that are not on the Angels. I know he's a Dodger. I always love Freddie Freeman. He's just that downright consistent baseball player. I love Ronald Acuna Jr. There's other players that I love in baseball that are on other teams.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. You can follow them. You can do whatever. But there's a difference between following your player and losing the Angels at the same time. A lot of those fans that love Ohtani have left the Angels, and they are strictly Dodger. They are Ohtani fans only and will follow him wherever he goes.
Absolutely.
So Angel Stadium on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are going to look a little more sparse because of everything that's gone on. Unless it's a giveaway or unless Mike Trout returns to form, like full MVP form, it is going to be different. And I know Neto and Ohapi
he'll have those extra bats, with the DH. So
and Neto and Ohapi and Shanawa will bring some new blood to this organization. And hopefully, if things go right, and I know Ron Washington would probably bring some butts in the seat because people like old style of baseball, the traditionalists love his style of coaching. I really believe the Angels have to win in spite of Arte Moreno. Yeah. And we talk about you got to do it. Go in spite of him. Don't thank him in the media. Don't say just say anything else and don't use him in a sentence. I don't know what else, we could talk all day long about how idiotic Arte Moreno is and the stuff you perfectly encapsulated that. And again, passion is going to be here with Katella Chronicles. And Yes, we might get off on a tangent where we swear here and there, but we deserve it. We have been put through the ringer and back with this guy for the last decade. And guess what I'm wearing today? You got your retro AL West 2014. It has been a decade since this shirt was worn with pride. A decade.
Man. And I will say this real quick, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
But let me make this point to Arte Moreno or whoever's watching. I'm sure this podcast runs across somebody's eyes in their PR department. I'm sure a lot of podcasts do. And that's just the way the Angels run their ship. But if he somehow thinks that he's going to go back to the days of getting 3 million fans, I don't think so, pal.
No.
Because I'll tell you what, the people when you were selling out 3 million fans in the days of Vladdy and all that stuff, a lot of those fans are now rooting for the Dodgers, asshole. Okay, and now you lost all the Ohtani fans. So Monday, I'd say even some on weekends, like you said,
Sunday through Thursdays.
I mean, it might even say a couple of Friday and Saturday, unless it's a giveaway, dude. You watch. Yeah. I really think you're gonna see a big difference in this crowd.
You know the day. I'll be real. I've seen a lot of teams come to Angel Stadium. I've almost seen, I believe, every single team outside of the Angels, of course, because Angel Stadium's the home, play at Angel Stadium. I think I have like 3 or 4 more on my list to cross them off the bucket list. And now with the schedule where you play everybody, it's going to happen sooner rather than later, which is great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been to Angel Yankee games. I've been to Angel Red Sox games. I've been to 3 Angel Dodger games in my life. 1 at the Big A, 2 at Dodger Stadium. Never again will I go back to Dodger Stadium. That's another conversation. When big teams come into town, even like the Giants, for example, they're NorCal, it's going to be heavy opposing team. We've always seen it when the Yankees are in town. They're chanting more. Boston is hit and miss depending on the year. Like when I went to Angel Boston last May, they were subdued. They weren't the typical rowdy Bostoners. But when I can tell you right now, and call me a bad Angel fan, you would catch me dead going to an Angel Dodger game at Angel Stadium. Sorry. You can catch me dead.
I don't blame you. I mean,
no, because why am I going to put myself through that? Regardless of Ohtani,
seasons just pour themselves into the place.
And it has nothing to do with Ohtani. It's an added bonus now. But even back in the day, you know this. I've told you this. You would catch me dead going to Angel Dodger games at Angel Stadium because it's so flipping annoying. Yeah. Why am I going to put myself through that much heartache and that much annoyance?
Yeah,
Hell no.
Fan base is garbage, man. They're trash.
Yankees, I could swallow up some pride to do it because the Angels have been known the last couple of years to beat the Yankees at Angel Stadium, regardless of what team we put on the field. So cool, I'll do it. Why not? Yeah. But it's the Dodgers, and now with all the added things of how the Dodgers got Ohtani and pretty much they wiped the floor with free agency and trades this offseason, and they're poised to be perennial contenders in the World Series on paper. Why am I going to put myself through that heartache right now? Really, why am I going to do that? There is no reason for me at almost 29 years old in a matter of next Sunday, I turn 25. I turned 29. Oh, yeah. I turned 29 on the 25th of February, I should say. Why would I put myself through that? No, there's absolutely no reason to do that. So, Artie, screw you. You're gonna make me be bitter about baseball. I'm still gonna love watching the Angels, Mike Trout and the crew, and I'm gonna enjoy seeing this next crop of players come in and do business. The Netos, the O'Hoppies, the Shauna Wells. I'm hoping for the resurgence of Sandoval and Detmers and to get them back to form. I'm really looking forward to what Ron Washington has up his sleeve.
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to that. But Arte Moreno, there's no respect. The respect is gone a long time ago. And with the phrases of "I'm here long term," we're going to operate this year under a little bit lower budget and calling the city of Anaheim to not have an appetite to win. You're not calling the city of Anaheim that. You're saying the fans that give you their hard-earned money to walk through the gates and pay the beer prices and the food prices and everything else you're sticking up that middle finger right to them. So, you know, I know David has been on this bandwagon for a while, and he did it last year. David did not go to a single game last year. He has been boycotting Angel games because of Arte Moreno. He supports the team. He supports the podcast. He watches from home. The last game he went to was the Reed Detmers no-hitter in 2022.
Wow. Yeah, I don't blame him.
And for me, I would love to do a boycott like that, but here's the reason why I don't boycott in that sense. I know it gives Arte Moreno his money, but I am not going to let Arte Moreno take away from me somebody's prime like Mike Trout. And even like last year, Shohei Ohtani. I could have not went to games last year, but if I didn't, I would have missed out on Ohtani's final year with the Angels. And I saw Ohtani pitch once last season. I saw him hit a couple dingers. I saw Ohtani be Ohtani. And those are memories that I'll take because Ohtani's never going to wear an Angel uniform again. That's just factual information. Mike Trout, age is getting to him a little bit. So these are the last handful of years that we're going to get of Mike Trout. I'm not going to waste that for anything, man. I'm not going to waste that. And I know, I'll find the cheapest ticket and I'll move around and do what I got to do. But if I'm in the building with the likes of Mike Trout and at that time Shohei Ohtani, I'm going to take that to my grave and I'm going to enjoy that. So, final thoughts on the Moreno situation, because I know it's going to be a topic of conversation until the day is long.
I mean, it's just we'll just go around in circles talking about this guy. It's just who knows how much longer this guy's going to be around, man. It's just
he's getting more time on air than he should.
Yeah. I guess
But
just suck it up, Angel fans. I mean, we have no freaking choice.
To me, overall, as we get set to wrap things up here on episode 23 of the Katella Chronicles podcast, the unofficial episode 1 of the new era of the Katella Chronicles is Ron Washington's here. It's a new era, new year of Angels baseball. Potentially the theme of New Year, same Angels, however you want to look at it. To me, the Angels won 73 games in 2023. If they can somehow get above 80 and even get close to a game over 500, which would put us at 82-80, I'll take it as a win because that's 9 games better than last year. And I know people might want to say, oh, you should be cheering for the Angels to try to get to the wild card or the playoffs. It's like, hell, at this point, I'm just happy to be over 500.
Yeah,
we got to temper expectations at this point because within our division, okay, Oakland, I'm not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, okay, they've been proven to be a thorn in our side. Texas is going to be a thorn in our side, and Houston is still Houston. So, in my opinion, the Angels are competing for third place in their division. But the 3 teams above them are a little bit farther. So, to me, I know we'll probably have a podcast right before opening day with season predictions and things like that. My little foreshadowing one is, until someone proves me wrong, this is Houston's division. Sorry. Texas is going to battle them hardcore. And it's us and Seattle for the 3 spot, with Seattle leading the charge right now. And Oakland's going to, if they are lucky, to win 60 games.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, and it's really the Angels needed to get that third and final wild card. That's where we're focusing on. We can't think of winning the division. We can't think of being the top wild card contender. The best the Angels can do with what we have is the third and final wild card spot. And if we get some stroke of luck, the second wild card spot. That's the pinnacle of where we got to be.
Yeah, I don't know who in their right mind would think this team has a shot at the division. I mean, this team does not stack up against the likes of teams like Texas and the Astros. I mean,
we would have to be
anyway, not even close.
This team would have to be the reincarnation of 2002.
Oh, yeah.
This has to be the reincarnation and in that sense. And
it'd be like a 19-game winning streak in the middle of July.
Yeah. And we'll get into the whole season preview as we get closer to opening day. But for right now, in this situation, that's what we got for you here on episode 23 of the Katella Chronicles podcast. We covered all our bases as spring training 2024 in Tempe, Arizona is upon us. Ron Washington and the crew, everybody has to report by Monday, February 19th. And it's baseball time. Football's over. Baseball is here. And let health be on the Angels side here this spring. And let's see what this team can do with the new additions that have been put forth in this organization. Who knows? Maybe the Angels still have some time to go out and get free agency. But again, Arte Moreno saying limited budget. I don't hold high hopes unless a rabbit is going to be pulled out of somebody's hat soon enough. Yeah. But the big news of the day, at the end of the day, Randy is a part of the Katella Chronicles family now. You can give him a big shout out and a big round of applause for the 2 brand new logos that he put together for us. The future is now on Katella, the Katella Chronicles podcast. You can follow us at Katella_CHRON on Twitter, aka X, or Instagram. Again, look at those 2 beautiful logos. The duck head on my right, absolutely phenomenal. You could also follow the podcast at YouTube as well on our YouTube channel, Katella Chronicles. But of course, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the stuff on below. And to boot, the graphics around us and the man cave logo behind us made by that guy right there, Randy. So graphics extraordinaire. He's on the boat. David Goodkind is still with us on the podcast. He was out today for a family emergency, but you're going to get a combination of the 3 of us, as well as our friends at Halos in the Infield, Todd, Fernando, James, Halo Joe. The whole crew is going to be filtering in and will make appearances as well on the Halos in the Infield channel as well. And of course, for Ducks content, our good buddy Zach Gray over at Ducks Game Day Breakdown. We have our weekly podcast Instagram session that we've been off due to work, but we will filter in on the Instagram verse as well with our good buddy, again, Ducks Game Day Breakdown. But for tonight, that will do it for episode number 23 of the Katella Chronicles podcast. Randy, cheers to you, my friend. Welcome into the KC family. We appreciate everything you've done. How does episode for you, number 1, feel?
It felt great. It felt nice to get a little something off the old chest, get some things out of the way. And then I'm looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to working with you fellas and ushering into a new era of Katella Chronicles.
Man, we're looking forward to it. And as always, Katella Chronicles fans, as I look at you right now watching this, thank you for sticking around. We are over the 800 follower mark. We're going to work very hard this season between Angel fans and Ducks fans to get over that 1,000 mark. That's the goal. And we're going to do everything that we can. Again, this podcast, we're going to disclaimer it. It's not going to be a weekly podcast. It's going to be whenever we can get in the work. But to me, I somewhat like that a little bit better because that means the quality of content in there will not be as sparse. There will always be a hot button topic to talk about, especially with the Angels and the Anaheim Ducks. And I'm going to, again, give another little mini tip of the cap. Randy, he likes hockey. He's not in love with hockey. He's still learning the game a little bit, but he will participate in the hockey conversations as well. So it's nice to have those teachable moments in there for Mr. Randy. So to all the fans out there that continue to support us, thank you so, so much. Support us, support our friends over at Halos in the Infield, as well as our buddy over at Ducks Game Day Breakdown. And of course, Randy's football page, the One Jets Pod. If you are a New York Jets fan or just a football enthusiast, Randy's got his page. He and I do weekly mock draft sessions in regards to the New York Jets for the next couple of weeks as the offseason has now begun in the NFL. We'll do some other things with free agency moving forward, but I'm looking forward, Randy, to filming that this week and having another mock draft to talk about in the NFL.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to having a whole lot of fun with you again, brother.
Absolutely. So until next time, I'm Dominick Lorenz. That's Randy Yaws. David Goodkind is not here, but he is with us as well. Follow us at Katella_CHRON on X and Instagram. Follow the YouTube page for every podcast. Like and subscribe. Tip your cap to Randy for all the graphics that he's going to put on for us this season. And enjoy the outro that I'm about to play to end this podcast, because guess what? Randy put it together too. I'm Dominick Lorenz. Cheers to you. And don't forget, Katella Chronicles, the heartbeat of pro sports in Anaheim. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.